Gene Hoglan, the atomic clock himself. How are you, sir?
I'm doing amazing, Neb. Thank you very much.
Man, thanks so much for hanging out. This is really cool.
Excellent. Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Yeah, man. Just staying alive, staying awake down here in Australia. So there you go.
Well, you've got a very, very long relationship with the show. You've been here for what, 30 years? You've been coming down here, maybe longer.
Yeah, about that. And I our first run over here was in 1997 with Strapping Young Lad, and also Alchemist, the legendary Alchemist, was our opening act. And that was, we were always told at that time that bands don't come here. You guys are kind of the first. And then when we started coming back and coming back and coming back and coming back, a lot of people were saying that, yeah, that's why we come to your shows. Because, we're appreciative that you're taking the time to come back here. So that's how we were able to build a pretty decent following here.
Our mutual friend Chippy, who I believe was on that run.
He was.
He said you played Wagga Wagga.
We played Wagga Wagga, and I learned from some bands' album, don't call Wagga Wagga Wagga. Everybody's called Wagga. Hey, you played Wagga.
Yeah, no, there's an extra Wagga in there.
I did. Yeah. I did hear that as an album title from an Australian punk band. Yes, we played Wagga Wagga. We played so many places. I remember, and that was because we didn't fly on that. We Alchemist had a converted sort of, it's like an American style school bus, kind of sort of converted to a sleep sort of kind of thing. And we traveled across the nation on in a bus. And I remember seeing a kangaroo just jumping down the street in the city center of Canberra. And you guys, that's one thing I noticed, you guys have very different skies than we have. Your celestial arrangements up there. I remember we had pulled over at 3 a.m. one side, and I remember looking over that way. I was like, whoa, you gotta be kidding me. You guys are probably familiar with this. Out in the middle of nowhere, there is a giant pentagram of stars in the sky. Then you turn around and face just directly that way, just happen to be doing like a 360.
Yeah.
There is an alignment of stars that do the metal sign. Like, I was like, wait a minute. You could put your hand right in it. I'm like, I'm not drunk, I'm not high, so that was crazy. Anyway, so that was some of my memories of the first time being in Australia, and it's been many times since then.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And this is the first time for Dethklok. Man, we've been waiting a long time for this to happen.
Absolutely.
How's it been? How's the run been so far? I've heard good things.
Amazing. Oh, yeah, it's incredible. Like all the fans have been great. Even Perth was saying, nobody comes here, thanks when you kicked off the tour here. So many people have come to our last couple of shows because they were like, and they're from Perth. Yeah. And they're like, you announced the tour. Of course, no Perth. So we booked flights and tickets, and then you guys announced Perth at the end. So I'm seeing you for 2 times. So that's pretty good. But the run has been great. The band is on fire. The show is killer. So, this is definitely a metal show that you've never seen before, and a lot of people are saying, like they do in the States the first time they saw us, is that this is the best concert I've been to. Like concert, I've been to all the big concerts. I've been on little club shows and stuff. This is the best concert I've ever seen. So that's pretty good. We'll take it.
So I've seen you a few times over the years with different projects. This is definitely more theatrical than other shows that I've seen you.
Indeed.
So how is that from your point of view as a drummer, being back there? Like, is there certain challenges with that for you?
Well, the challenges is that I have to play to the click track perfectly every single song, every single night, every single tour, and I guess I'm the sort of the train conductor, I think Brendan has called it, of, I got to stay on the click and make sure that we are all lining up with the video behind us. Yeah. And when I rehearse for this thing, I rehearse to the video, but I only have the click track going. So I have the songs memorized in my head. I could play this to only the click track. If the guitars go down, I've got the click track. I've rehearsed this so many times. I've played this set so many times that if something goes down, like the click track or anything, for the last few tours, I've been also rehearsing to the video. So I've also got our cuts are always on the one.
Yeah.
So if something goes down with the audio, I could just turn and look at my video screen and line myself up to the video screen, you know. So there you go. But that's the challenges of it. But I'm playing to a click track, and that's my main concentration. I'm not headbanging. I'm not doing anything crazy. You see me. I'm just kind of like just in a Zen zone.
Yeah.
Brendan calls me the Zen octopus. That's pretty fun. And I'm just kind of zenned out, looking up there somewhere, just focusing. My eyes are closed much of the time. And it's so dang just, I got to wear the shades on stage, you know, because it is intense, you know. It's stroby. It's stroby goodness.
Well, I had a chat with Brendan ahead of the tour, and he was saying how much he loves working with you. And, you know, how you challenge him as a musician, but how does he challenge you as a drummer? Like, how does he push you, and what's it like working with him?
Well, he writes crazy songs like Laser Cannon Death Sentence and the coffee jingle, which on the version on the show, you know, he programmed the entire first season, you know, because he'd already had all that done by the time he had reach out to me to come and work with him on the first album. And I remember the coffee jingle. I'm like, those double basses are, you know, like a Tim Young or one of the new, you know, psycho double bass players could probably play. I can't. So I, you know, augmented him a little bit, but he, you know, he writes some very challenging programming. And when he hands it over to me, he's always just like, you know, do your thing with it. Genize it. You know, these are just basic templates. If you can come up with something, you know, better than me, by all means, you know, use it. And Brendan is a great programmer. So many of the beats that are programmed are just killer to play. So I'm like, I don't want to change any of this. Like on Death Album 4, there's a number of things that he had programmed. I was like, I'm going to figure out how to be an octopus and play that beat right there, you know. And that's one thing I've always been pretty decent at, you know. Devin Townsend, he was a great programmer. Bear McCreary, also a great drum programmer. So a lot of times the challenge is to, you know, I want whoever I'm working with, I want them to be so happy with the drums. A lot of times I get the super stock, just boop, bap, boop, bap, boop, bap, boop, you know, and just do everything you can to this. And that's always cool. But when I get to let somebody else's mind come to life and what their thoughts are, and it's kind of a win-win, because their beats and programming that they programmed and worked on, you know, they didn't just pull some random beats off the whatever Pro Tools and just throw them in there. It comes from their mind. So having their mind come to fruition by being able to play that, you know, oh, you need 4 arms and 3 legs to play that beat right there. I'll figure out a way to do it. So that's just, it's the best of both worlds. They get their vision coming to life, and I get to look like a total genius because, you know, I'm playing these great beats that I did not think of. You know, on a lot of those occasions I do, but I mean, there's many where I'm just doing what they, you know, a genized version of what somebody else's mind was at. And when you are not a drummer, you approach the drums from a different angle. And so I'm like, okay, I'll figure out how to make this work. So there you go.
Talking about Bear, he's going to be touring down here very soon. Are you coming with him?
Absolutely. I'll be back here in 3 months, 4 months, something like that.
Dude,
3 months.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. That is very, very exciting because, I mean, he's an incredible composer, man. He's written some of my favorite scores and worked on some of my favorite stuff. And you did, was it Godzilla with him as well?
That's right. That was the first thing that we had sort of, the second thing we worked on, because Bear did all the musical orchestration for the Doomstar Requiem, the clock opera. Dethklok put out a decade and something, 12 years ago or so. And so he worked on that. And so he was, and the Godzilla, King of the Monsters, Brendan and Brian Beller from Dethklok and myself, we all came in and worked on that. And that was very cool. I had Serge Tankian doing the vocals on it. And then, you know, which led us to doing the Singularity, his solo album, and that thing's amazing. That's a lot of great songs. Bear he's a metal guy at heart as well. So I mean, he can write some pretty astonishingly heavy material, and so I was really into it. And then the list of musicians that he's got to work with on that one, from Serge Tankian to Slash and Joe Satriani, and Laura Christine plays the opening riff on the entire record, and Rufus Wainwright is on some vocals, Corey Taylor, Brendan, Brian Beller's on it, Brendan That's Small, so Brian cool. Beller. Yeah, there's so many folks on it. Check it out, man. It's all over the place. The Singularity, Bear McCreary, check it out. It's a great record.
I'm going to check that out for sure. Yeah. But I know I've run out a bit of time. I wish I could keep you all night, but you've kind of got a show to play. You've played with some of my favorite projects outside of the main ones, like Tenet is a fucking great one. Excellent. And Pitch Black Forecast is another one. Zimmer's Hole.
Right.
So just quickly, what's the status of those? And I mean, I know Zimmer's Hole's getting a reissue, Tenet's getting a vinyl issue.
Nice.
But what's can we see them again at some stage? What's happening?
I would hope so. I mean, I think some of the folks from Tenet have gotten their schedules opened up a little bit.
Yeah.
And hey, you never know. You just never know. I mean, that'd be great if Tenet could ever do some more things. I know how busy I'm going to be over the next few years, so I'm not sure of my involvement. But absolutely, hopefully Tenet can do stuff. Zimmer's Hole, definitely, and Pitch Black Forecast. You never know. There's a whole ton of material for Pitch Black Forecast that was written, but we never got to release it. We released a few songs on an EP a few years back. Yeah. Burning in Water, Drowning in Flame. And there was like another 10 songs written around that time. And so, hey, you never know.
Oh, I'm keen, mate. But of course, you got that. What else you got coming up? There's another Dark Angel album.
That's right.
On the way.
That's my main focus. Dark Angel, the Dethklok stuff. Yeah. Bear, obviously, and also Death to All as well. But we have a new Dark Angel record coming out, and it's called Extinction Level Event. Yeah. And that is, it's a pretty ferocious record. I'm stoked with it. It took long enough for it to come out, but now that it's getting, we're getting closer to the release, things are starting to get closer to finalized with it. So, everybody keep your eyes open. We just released the album cover last week, and we're when we have some actual like, here is the drop date for it, we'll be able to share that with everybody. Pay attention to the Dark Angel socials and all that, and we'll there will be a release date that we're teasing it as 2025. So hey, before December 31st, we are getting a Dark Angel record.
Oh man, I'm so keen. And Death to All Australia tour?
Well, you never know. I mean, we don't have anything. We'd love to. Absolutely. Hey, talk to your local promoters. We will go where all of my bands will go where we are invited, and there's an offer that can be made that is enough where we can make it a successful run. So, hey, get your local promoters on that. We'd love to tour Australia.
Or just book all your bands at once, and we can have the Atomic Clock Fest.
Oh, we absolutely
keep you busy one whole day.
That. Oh, yeah. I've thought about that for over a decade.
Have you?
15 years thinking about stuff like that. We've actually tried to put a few of those things together, but we just gotta know that we can make it happen. But hey, you never know.
Hopefully. But, mate, thank you so much for hanging out. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Excellent. Pleasure.
We'll have all the links down here on the website. We'll see you soon.